What you are about to watch is a segment edited from one of our 4-hour board certification courses. Each segment focuses on an area of governance that board members frequently ask us to explain in more detail. We produce these clips to provide information on demand, giving you the option to revisit key topics whenever you need clarity, reinforcement, or a quick refresher. The video is a discussion for Homeowners Association board members that covers the Florida statutes governing official records and the association website requirements. This is a copyrighted video by Ardor.
Every association, and they are unique. But you also have to have a set of official records for your community. Those official records, in addition to the governing documents, include things like your financial records, meeting-related documents, the maintenance and project records, insurance information, official rosters of the community. For instance, everything related to the meetings, whether it's the notice of the meeting, the agenda of the meeting, the meeting minutes, all of those things are part of the official records for the community. These records must be maintained for a minimum of 7 years, unless the association's governing documents, again, stipulate a longer period of retention. That's the general rule. There are certain records, like the governing documents and any amendments, building plans. Those things have to be maintained indefinitely. On the other hand, there are things like the election ballots, sign-in sheets, and voting proxies that only need to be kept for 1 year from the date of the election. Bids only need to be kept for 1 year. So we've put together kind of a chart to help you understand the retention requirements for the official records. Governing documents and any amendments to those, that's permanent. Your meeting minutes for board and member meetings, 7 years. Financial reporting, 7 years. Annual budgets and proposed budgets, 7 years. Contracts to which the association is a party, or any financial obligation, like a loan or anything else, 7 years. Bids received by the association, this is all the bids that have been received, need to be held for 1 year. Accounting records, including ledgers, bank statements, invoices, payment histories, all the things related to your accounting, 7 years. Tax returns and audits, 7 years. Insurance policies, 7 years after their expiration. And our best practice recommendation is to save insurance policies even longer than that, because if there's a statute of limitations on things like a slip and fall, but they're very long. You can wait years before you sue someone for a slip and fall. And if someone sues you for a slip and fall from 5 years ago, the insurance company that's responsible for defending you and paying any claim is the insurance company that was in effect who carried your insurance 5 years ago. So you need a long-standing record of the insurers for the association. Tax returns and audits, 7 years. Ballots, sign-in sheets, proxies, and voting records is just 1 year. The rules and regulations, the current active rules and regulations, as long as they're active. The director's certification, so the certifications that you will get as a function of completing this course. That's an official record, has to be held for 5 years. Owner and membership rosters, they have to be the current owners. Architectural review applications and approvals, 7 years. Violation notice, fines, 7 years. Lease sales and transfer approvals, 7 years. So in general, anything that has to do with the operations of the community and is on paper becomes part of the official record, and even some of the digital correspondence becomes part of the official record that has to be held for 7 years. Owners have the right to look at the official records of the association. To do so, they have to provide a written request that can be done in email form. It can be done by a letter. It can be done by somebody walking into the management company or the association office and just handing them a request. Official records, if there's a request, they have to be turned over to the person requesting them within 10 business days. They have to be provided in a location according to the statute, convenient to the association and the requesting homeowner, and the fact that you can use digital records is also part of the statute. So you can provide them through a Dropbox, a digital Dropbox. You can put them online on the homeowner website, give them access through that, or send them a PDF or a flash drive. You can charge copying fees for copies if the homeowner requests copies at 25 cents per page for physical copies. You can also place limits of frequency on these requests. It's one of those areas where there are times when a homeowner who's unhappy may use this official process as a punitive thing for the association, for the management company, by just constantly barraging them with requests. So you have the right as a board to put limits on the requests. You can impose things like you're only going to look at a records request for a homeowner once a month. The homeowner can submit the requests, whatever reasonable language you might include, as long as you establish it as an official policy and you vote on that at a duly noticed board meeting and it gets passed by a majority of the board members, then that can become the policy for limiting the frequency of requests. You may also want to run whatever you put together past your association attorney. There are records that an owner request owners can't look at. Anything that's attorney-client privilege communication can't be part of a homeowner request. Personal owner information like social security numbers and bank details, you may have a requirement whereby you're doing some screening for renters or screening for owners and inadvertently may have some details like that. Although if you do, you should probably destroy them right away or redact them. But in any case, they aren't available as part of a records request. Personnel records aren't available as part of a records request, except for their salary and compensation information. But if there's been disciplinary action or whatever the historic meetings and reviews, things like that, for anybody on the staff, those personnel records aren't part of an homeowner request for official records. Any medical records of the homeowners or residents, there may be times when you have those because there may have been a reasonable accommodation for a disability and they provided some information that may be related to a medical condition. You certainly don't turn anything like that over as part of a homeowner's record request. And then some sensible things like security system details and software information, logins, things like that shouldn't be part of a homeowner's records request or available as part of a homeowner's records request. Now, there are times when a homeowner requests something and you're not able to supply it. If it's simply a delay, you're subject, if you don't get it to the homeowner in 10 days, then you're subject to a fine of $50 a day up to $500 per request. The DPPR can fine you in out of compliance if the homeowner wants to collect on that $50, $500 total. They have to take you to court to get that. Additionally, if the records simply aren't available that were requested, and they should be because they are labeled as part of the official record requirements, you have to, in writing, document that they're unavailable and to the best of your ability, provide an explanation as to why, and then make a good faith effort to recover the documents. And whether that means that, we had the hurricanes and, some things may have been destroyed. So maybe old board members may have some copies. If it's banking, your bank statements, there should be copies available. Whatever it might be, previous management companies, you initiate some good faith effort to recover the documents that aren't available. You document that process, then you notify the homeowner whether there was the ability to recover those things. If it was not, document how you went through that good faith process. And if you do recover things, also make a record of when those additional documents were provided to the homeowner. And then as a board, if it uncovers a gap in the process, you need to adopt a corrective measure that will make sure it doesn't happen again. And the best thing to do is discuss all this at a board meeting, and that way it should become part of the meeting minutes. The easiest way to do that is to have the discussion, have a supplemental kind of white paper on what happened, and then just attach that to the minutes for that meeting. A special note, as of July 1, 2024, every HOA was required to have created a records retention policy. So it's not sufficient just that 720 tells you what to do with the records. You also, as an association, have to define some nuances to a records retention policy. So if you don't have a piece of paper or a digital place where you can go to and touch and say, yes, this is our records retention policy that we voted on as a board and adopted, you need to do that. The records retention policy, we've just given you an outline in this discussion. It should include what the purpose of the policy is, and that is easy because that's to comply with Florida Statute 72303. The types and records that you'll be retaining, again, lie heavily on the 72303. Then some things that you'll have to define as an association. Where are the physical records being stored? Where are the digital records being stored? And what are the access controls, and how are board members able to get access to them? Then the description of the records that are available and are not available. So you want to run down, again, consistent with that 72303. You want to run down the information that is available and the information that's restricted as part of a records retention and the ability to do an owner request to see those records. You need to have a records destruction policy. Things are to be held for 7 years. Well, how do you get rid of them after 7 years? Who's making the decisions on what to get rid of? How is it being disposed of? Shredding or the secure deletion of digital records? And certainly you need to include things like you're not going to destroy anything that's part of any ongoing litigation, audits, or investigation. And in the end, you want to create a system whereby the board is approving any documents that are set for destruction, and that should be in some written format that they'd make that approval. And ongoing compliance and review, that the board will on a regular basis review this policy and designate someone who is the custodian. It's either the secretary typically or the HOA manager to oversee the records, and that the policy would remain in compliance with the Florida law and IRS regulations. So this is just an outline. You're required to have a records retention policy. It's important that you create it if you don't already have it, and this is an outline to assist. Homeowners websites, you are required as of January 1, 2025. If you are a homeowners association with 100 or more parcels, you're required to have a website that allows for the secure access to association records. When the statute defines secure, it means that there are areas on the website that are only available to owners and only they can see those things, that you give them login credentials, a username and password to get there, and they are able then to access those records and download those records, and also that it's consistent with the owner records uh, access, and wherein you're not providing any documents that are prohibited, or if there are things that are sensitive, they have been redacted on the website. Website documents, that's different from the requirements for your official records. It's a shorter list. So on the website, you need the governing documents and any amendments. You need a complete copy of the association's rules and covenants and a direct link thereto on the home page of the association's website, or you need to provide every newest member of the association a full set of documents. And that came into play October last year when this statute was changed. All of a sudden, you were required to provide everybody in the association a complete set of documents. Well, if you're mailing them and it's 40, 50, some are 100, 200 pages of documents, the cost was insurmountable. Well, you could just put a link on the homepage of your website that linked to those documents so that homeowners could get access to them. The annual budget and proposed budget, and that's going to be considered at any upcoming meeting. The annual financial report, and then any monthly income or expense statements that are going to be considered at a meeting. And in most cases, I see associations just publishing a set of owner documents every month. That way you don't have to be conscious of whether you're going to be considered at a meeting or not, or need to be up there. You just know you're covered. The most recent financial statement and audit report, all the current insurance policies need to be on the website. The certificates of completion of the statutory educational curriculum for each board member. So once you get your certificate, it has to be posted on the website. And as you continue to do that annually, when we get to that point and we talk about what your annual requirement is, they all need to be posted on the website. Any notices and agendas for the membership meetings, and they have to be posted on the website at least 14 days in advance, consistent with the notice requirement for the actual physical mailing or distribution. And that notice must be either in plain view on the homepage, like the actual notice must be on the homepage, or again, there must be a subpage labeled notices, which is conspicuously visible on that homepage. Posted with the notice must also be any document that's to be considered and voted on by the members during the meeting, and or any document listed on the meeting agenda. And while it's 14 days in advance for the notice, it's 7 days in advance for those supplemental documents. They give you a little bit of an additional window to get those posted. Notices and agendas for board meetings, again, they have to be consistent with what's required of that meeting. In most cases, it's no later than 48 hours prior to the meeting, and they're also on that page that's linked from the home page. The contact information for the association's property management company, all the contracts between the association and an outside party, or a list of all the contracts to which the association is party, or under which the association or parcel owners have an obligation. So you can either just drop every one of the contracts into the folder, or you can maintain a list, and that list has to have enough detail on it that it's reflective of what's really happening with those contracts. So, the contract with Spectrum, it's, it expires in 2026, December 2026. Then the annual contract amount is $1,000. Just enough detail on that list so that you are being transparent. Remember, the whole idea behind having a website and the ability to look at documents is that the state wants to be sure the operation of the association is transparent.